be taking you through the day's NBA action. A lot of trade machinations are messing up everything, or opening opportunity depending upon the worldview that you want to take today. I'm Chris Spags, joined as always by one of the premier analysts in the world of daily fantasy sports and the world of NBA. Fast Eddie Fear. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready. I'm excited for the slate. It's a pretty reasonable sized one, not the gigantic Friday slates we're used to, just 5 games on the slate. But
You're like
I
one of
think
those women who says that you don't like it when it's too big, and
that's
oh, I don't like it when
hard and hot on a Friday
I don't
with
believe
the
you.
old dong joke.
I don't
But
believe
yes, just like that. We had 5 games. I think it's a good amount of games given the amount of news we have. And it also some important stuff in the news front. In the news front of new daily fantasy sports apps, there's some exciting news. Thrive Fantasy is all the news right now. It's the DFS app where players draft a lineup built of prop bets of only top-tier athletes. You pick 10 props out of the 20, and the less probable a prop is to occur, more points it's worth, and that's where the game theory lies. So go click this link. I'm going to drop into the YouTube chat right now. It's bit.ly/Awesemo. Check that out. Get in there now with the deposits that they have going for you. $10 on any $10 deposit. They'll give you $20 on a $100 deposit, and they'll give you back $50 for $200 or more. And that's fast release. You get it right away. So you just got to play it to earn it. It's all you have to do. Go check it out now. Eddie, the prop bet that we're going to talk about up top is a guy who's greatly affected by some of the injury news today, Marc Gasol. You have an over-under on 15.5 points. The over will get you 90. The under will get you 110. What do you do with Marc Gasol with an over-under of 15.5?
I say to you again, I will take my 90 points.
I as well. 17.2 would be my projection for Marc Gasol. Could go a little higher, I think, with Conley being out. Marc Gasol's usage just spiked quite a bit there. So go take that one to the Thrive Fantasy pay window right now. Check out the app. Click the link in the YouTube chat and get your deposit bonuses now. Eddie, Grizzlies game, Conley being out, Kyle Anderson being out, should open some value there. Which of the guys are most confident in?
Yeah, I mentioned on Twitter, we've had a really good week. People watching the show, we've had at least 3 6-digit winners and scads of people winning 10 grand or more this week. And I've been oddly hot takey. There's always on any show you get a lot of this guy or this guy questions, and they're usually 50-50. So one way to do well at our job, if you will, is to get a lot of those right. And I feel like that's been going well too. Josh and I had a pretty good crushing yesterday. Like everyone who listened to the show and did vaguely what we were talking about is all the guys we were like, Bledsoe and Drummond, and these are the right math value guys, and these are like just basically everyone we liked ended up doing well. But there's also been a few times this week where there were guys that I was way higher on than the field. But there was a Satoransky day, and there was a Kenrich Williams day when a lot of people had him projected for like 25 minutes, and I said 33 or something. Where and he played 38, but it's just been a solid week all around. So someone was telling me earlier today, you need to come up with more hot takes, and I don't like generating shit for the purpose of generating shit. Like, I think you should hot take when you have it and otherwise shut up, because I think you should be responsible when you're advising other people on what to do with their money and not, just try to fill time or what have you. But I do think the Knicks are overwhelming shit, even in a fantasy sense today, if I have a hot take. And I suppose if I was to phrase it one way, I would say that with the possible exception of Noah Vonleh, I'm pretty sure there is a better Grizzly than any Knick you might want to play. Depending on whatever Knick you might want to play, I'm pretty sure there is a better Grizzly pivot. I'm not quite at just fuck the whole team, because I think you get one guy who's decent. It ends up being site dependent. Yahoo, you have a lot of guys who are, $10 flat. Okay, $10 Mario, $10, I think Alonzo Trier is 10. Like, some of those can work out for you. FanDuel, sure is 4,000 where he's droppable. That makes some sense. Hazonia, again, really cheap. But there's I really prefer the Grizzlies spot a lot more. And I think when you brought it up there, you were actually underselling it a fair bit. So they are without, I want to make sure I get this right. So they will be without no Conley, no Kyle Anderson, no Omri Caspi, no Garrett Temple, and possibly no Jaren Jackson Jr. That is like a butt ton of minutes. That is more than half the minutes on the team missing at this point, and I think we can make some pretty decent guesses where these minutes are going to go. So on the Grizzlies, I think you're dealing with a better matchup. You're going up against the Hornets, who have been better of late, but I will compliment them slightly and say they are an average defensive unit, as opposed to the Celtics, who the Knicks have, who are a monster and top 4 in defense, depending exactly how you're looking at it. The minutes, I think, are actually much more predictable. The matchup, as we just said, is much better, and on most of them, the ownership is lower. So I don't know if this is really that hot of a take, but it's basically, whenever you're thinking of playing a Knick, spend a long time first thinking about playing a Grizzly instead. Most of the lineups I'm looking at here in tournaments have 2 or 3 Grizzlies and 0 or 1 Knicks. And I really feel like that's a lot better.
I agree with you. I like the Grizzlies too. I think you're underselling the Knicks though. Like I mean, same thing with the Mavericks yesterday. Like, I mean, the Mavericks ended up having a really good showing there, surprisingly. But I think the young Knicks are ready to compete. And I think when you take Hardaway out of the equation there, Trey Burke as well, you're taking guys who shoot 15 times a game, give or take. That's a lot left behind for, Kadeem Allen, a guy who's been a peripheral guy but not shooting a lot. Kevin Knox has been shooting a lot, can in theory shoot more. I love the Grizzlies too, but I think you're underselling the Knicks. Let's accuse each other of underselling people.
Okay. I mean, we'll be able to look at the end of the day and figure out who's. Well, let me put it this way: you're comparing him to the Mavs yesterday. Mm-hmm. Who was good for the Mavs yesterday?
I mean, it was Barnes. I think the rotations got a little wonky, but like Ryan Brokoff could have had a decent day if he had gotten the same minutes in the second half that he did in the first.
He could have had, but he ended up with 7 points, an assist, and 3 rebounds. I think he had like 14 fantasy points.
You're right. It was mostly a Barnes day, and I agree that the defense issues, like you're talking about a pace-up spot for Memphis and an efficiency boost as well. The Hornets not a very good defense compared to the Knicks. We're going against a good defense. But it's a home game for them. Like, right. I like them both. But, I wouldn't say equally.
Right, but when you say it's like the Mavs yesterday, yeah, I think you've got it exactly right. I think it's like the Mavs yesterday. They had one good player. You wanted a Mav. You wanted Harrison Barnes. You did not want Jalen Brunson. You did not want Slot. You could have had Powell, who had like 25 for his like 3,200. So Powell was obviously fine, and he was the second most chalky guy. But Brunson didn't quite where you wanted him to. I think Devin Harris almost got to 20. Kleber was disappointing and dealt with foul trouble. He had, somewhere around 20 there. And I think there's a real chance of that happening. And this is a worse matchup. And these players are worse too. Like Maxi Kleber and Devin Harris and Dwight Powell are better basketball players than Kadeem Allen and Mario Hezonja and some of the other guys we're talking about here. Maybe not Mario. Mario's always a guy I thought had some sort of upside, but and then you just sort of add in the uncertainty, and then I think they're higher owned. So maybe I am. We will see at the end of the day, but I will tell you, I think at the end of the day, you will be able to pick at least 3 Grizzlies you would like, and I will say 1 or 0 Knicks. I can see Kadeem Allen falling into 30, which would obviously make him outstanding. And again, there is a large sort of myth about how much you want. And it's not as bad on a 5-game slate. But, Powell yesterday, you really didn't want him. He wasn't worth the slot at 25. You wanted Barnes because Barnes gave you 40 or whatever the hell that number ended up being. And that's good. And we were all the hell over Barnes. And one of the many ways we made money yesterday is Barnes was 30% owned. And when we looked at lock, I was like, Barnes, 30%. I'm like, that's crushingly too low. But, so that's I suppose, my hot take. I like Shelvin Mack much more than anybody on the Knicks. Much more than Kadeem Allen. I don't know where we have them currently projected for ownership. I haven't looked in a couple hours since before we got all the Grizzlies news.
They're pretty close right now, unless we got an update. I'm going to refresh just to make sure. But right now we have Kadeem at 16. Actually, it might be backwards. Hold on. Let me just double check when this loads. All right, we got Kadeem Allen he's up. Kadeem Allen up to 38%. Shelvin Mack up to 46% now.
Wow. Okay. Well, that got out of hand in a hurry.
The most recent update seemed a little much more favorable.
That's my second Anchorman thing in 10 minutes. I don't know if you were watching me, if you had my video up when we did it, but you said the thing earlier, and I was like, I don't believe you. And did the sipping of my energy drink, a la the scotch at the beginning. And now that got out of hand in a hurry with 46% Mac and 38% Kadeem Allen. Okay, good. I still like Shelvin Mack a lot more. Shelvin Mack has a better matchup. I think we'll probably play more minutes. Like, so let's talk about this match. But again, I think the other piece of news that seems to be getting missed is the fact that JaMychal Green is fucked up. Okay, he does not look right. 6 games ago, he looked injured and came out early. Missed a little time in the next game. Came back, played a few games. 3 games ago, played 5 minutes and went out with an injury. 2 games ago, sat. Last game, came back and tried to play and played 5 minutes. So, yeah, I guess maybe 30 minutes go to JaMychal Green here. I can't tell you that's definitely not going to happen. But I'd be surprised. I'd be really surprised if they're like, yep, he hasn't had a full game load in like 4 times and came out of that. He has, I believe, soreness in both knees. So I don't think my bro gets a lot of time there. So in the event that you get Jaren Jackson Jr. out too, okay, now you've got to play 38 minutes of Rob, not to mention like some stupid amount of minutes of Marc Gasol. And they're also, again, missing Caspi and Temple and Anderson. And so you now know that you're going to get back to, I have Holiday for 39 minutes right now. I think Bruno Caboclo, I have it 31 minutes right now. And maybe that comes up. Played a ton in the last game, got into overtime. And again, that was a game where Mike Conley played and Anderson played. So now they're both got, like, who are the guys who are going to get minutes? Let's assume Jaren Jackson Jr. is out for a minute, okay? Marc Gasol, Justin Holiday, Shelvin Mack, Bruno Caboclo, that's 4 guys, Yvonne Robb, Javon Carter, the next guy in which they're happy giving minutes, that's guy number 6. Joakim Noah is not the 7th guy they actually want to give minutes to on this team. So you're looking at all these guys in a better matchup at 34, whatever the hell, $100. I just like them much, much more than the Knicks, where I don't know where this is going to go, and the matchup is much worse, and I'm not sure anybody gets there. If I had to play Nick, it would be our projected, 4% Noah Vonleh. He's actually got a decent matchup. He's probably the best basketball player left on this team, and that obviously is before the Dallas guys check in. But at the moment, he's, the best guy on this team. There's a lot of shots to go around, but this just isn't a Boston team I think is going to give up a ton of shots. I think a blowout is I'll go with likelihood. So, and why is either of these teams, wanting players to play a ton of minutes? So I'm not shocked if no Nick plays more than 27 minutes. They are suiting up, I believe, 10 guys. Maybe it's 11. I'll go check that in a second. But if it's 10 guys, I'm not shocked if they all see 20 to 28 minutes. There's so many ways it can go hairy, and I really think Memphis is going to throw all these goddamn minutes at 7 guys. And, for that reason, you might get blowout Jamal Washburn run or something, but especially if Jaren Jackson Jr. is out. Even if Jaren Jackson Jr. is in, I still like this a ton. Caboclo is going to play a lot of time. He played 27 minutes in regulation last time, and again, Kyle Anderson was there. And he's primarily a 3. He played basically the strict backup to Kyle Anderson at the start of the game and then came in and played next to him towards the end of the game. And they both played into overtime. But he's a 3-4, and especially if, JaMychal is limited and Jaren Jackson is out. So there's a little guesswork here. But, so I don't know if that's any kind of hot take. And apparently it isn't, with Shelvin Mack being currently owned more than Kadeem Aaron. I guess that's not that hot. So I apologize for the tepidness of my take. But, yeah, I really think the Knicks are, I cannot justify them. I can kind of justify Noah Vonleh. I can justify the guys on FanDuel who, sure, but again, on ownership, if you're telling me that, Kadeem Aaron is 44% on FanDuel and Shelvin Mack is less, I will check that's the most obvious one. But, people are like Alonzo Trier. Yeah, I think Alonzo Trier is great. I would certainly rather play Monty Morris. I would rather play Justin Holiday. I think there's another one. So, in tournaments, Alonzo Trier is my 4th favorite cheap shooting guard. They've been talked about a ton, and they're in the zeitgeist. Malik Beasley, I would easily have over him for $500 more. I can't do Waiters. I can't do Monk. I can't pull any of those. Torrey Craig, I would absolutely have over him. I'm interested to see how they'll deploy Torrey Craig. With them still having Gary Harris not feeling well with the groin, if they sit him, then it gets nice and easy because you can still start Monty Morris at point. And have Torrey Craig come in and do his job. They really want Torrey Craig out there in this game because he's probably their best individual defender, he or Gary Harris, against James Harden. So Gary Harris doesn't play, it gets real easy. You can start both those guys and then have Barton, Millsap, and Jokic to fill it out. If Gary Harris plays, I get concerned about my Monty Morris exposure. He was brilliant last game. Another guy we talked about a lot this week. We show went off the air, looked at ownership, and went, wow, Monty Morris at whatever the hell it was, 3.7% is the best play on this slate. And I always say that. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but the best play just means, wow, this guy at this ownership is way the hell too good. And it was Monty Morris on that slate, and he put up 27 and 7 or whatever it was. He had 40 fantasy points as the starting point guard. News that came out like 10 minutes before lock. So again, have a plan to swap. But yeah, I will go to battle with you, good sir, that the Knicks will be shit.
Okay, so here are the Knicks that I'm interested by the most, and we can go there. I'm with you on Trier. I haven't loved what I've seen with Trier as the lead ball handling guard. That said, every time he's played over 30 minutes this year, he has been a positive value. Obviously, his price is up compared to where he was with some of those 30-minute games rather earlier this year. But that has been a flag marker for Trier there. Kevin Knox, like I mentioned before, he's just shooting a lot. He's shooting 18 times a game already. Hardaway shots again coming off. I mean, Knox gets pulled pretty fast sometimes by Fizdale, but I think it's not crazy to see Knox shoot close to 25 times in this game. He loves to shoot. He's been very unembarrassed about it. So I think he intrigues me a little bit. Kadeem Allen, though, is the one I would really push back on the most. He's been really good per minute. I think now you get those Burke minutes out of the way. It is a revenge spot, which, whatever. But I just like what he's been doing so far, and I think a little bit more scoring opportunity given to him could be good. Hazonia, I don't. He's the chalky player here who I'm least comfortable with, but I get the logic behind it. I don't know. I just think the Knicks are a little more talented than they might be getting credit for, and I actually like the trade. I thought the trade was smart. Give these guys minutes, give them room to go.
I like the trade. With the news that there's the second pick coming back, and I like the trade a lot for the Knicks. It's we did it sort of live on the air yesterday with me and Josh. I like the trade. I like the trade for everybody right now, which is weird. Right now, I have no issues with anyone executing that trade.
Yeah, I think with the Knicks, you got to find what you have, and I think this is,
Apparently, the Knicks lineup is out. I like that someone sent me a message. The Knicks lineup is out. Without saying what it is, I like the suspense. Allen, Dotson, Knox, Thomas, and Vonleh. Okay, so here's one of the things, for example, that can go squirrely for me. Do you know that Lance Thomas isn't going to play 36 minutes today? I don't think he's gonna. But they may just run him out there and it just screws up everything for everybody. They're starting Vonleh at the 5 and Thomas at the 4, so let's see. Thomas is worse, Vonleh is worse. They're not starting Trier, so maybe he gets all the usage off the bench and plays 30 minutes. Maybe he plays 22. They really have, I believe, 3 guards. That's the one thing I will give you. They have Allen Dotson and Trier, who should be playing guard on an NBA team. So, in theory, that is what I will see to you, is that they have to, in theory, those 3 guys. You can play Hazonia at the 2. You don't want to. But that's sort of like Dorian Finney-Smith at the 2 yesterday, which is the way they started that game. Another Mavs parallel, by the way. You brought that up. That fits really nicely. That's really similar, actually. There are guys who are really 3-4s, but have played the 2. It's exactly the same thing, sort of. But that would fuck things up a little more, and it's Fizdale and the Knicks. So I'm going to guess they're going to do that. And you don't get 96 minutes combined out of Allen Dotson and Trier. But, in theory, those guys should average 32 minutes, which makes them all pretty exciting plays for 32 whatever the hell dollars. But it is not that hard to get just rolled by the damn Celtics. I think they're going to have to forfeit in the middle of the third quarter. I think they're going to be like, look, we fouled out 3 dudes, and we're awful, and too many guys are getting hurt, and you're too good, we're going home.
Maybe a little mercy rule coming into play. No, I get it. And Dotson, too. So Dotson being in the starting lineup, I think that's intriguing. So this is theories throughout the year. And again, I watch a lot of shitty basketball. I find a lot of fantasy value in bad teams, so I spend a lot of time watching the Knicks. I think Dotson's a better Hardaway. Maybe not better right now, but better in terms of his efficiency, better in terms of taking smart shots, not forcing action too much. I think he's going to fit that spot well. So now that he's starting, I think Dotson is a very strong play. Dotson and Allen, I feel like those two, to me, stand above and beyond and being worth. We could revisit this on Tuesday or whenever we have our next show, because I'm curious to see how it turns out. You could be 100% right. I will absolutely give you that.
I think at this point, the problem is it's all site dependent. Because different sites, really all these plays are different on FanDuel versus DraftKings versus Yahoo. I have interest in Dotson. I have interest in Allen. I have interest in Trier. I have interest in the 3 guards. Knox, unless he's well cheaper somewhere than I know about, really just doesn't have an upside because he doesn't get any stats but points. Maybe you get 35 real points out of Knox, so he can have 41 fantasy points, but he still costs like 5K. Like there's just other guys I would sort of rather go to. You know, Vonleh is starting at center, which is better for him production-wise, but I don't know what happens to his minutes now because the Unicornet is back and Mitch Robinson is still going to play. So does he lose minutes, or does he back up Lance at the 4, or does Mario, like, I just don't know quite how this is going to get screwed up, but again, I'm a believer in the Celtics defense more than most, I think, and we'll see. But I just feel much better about Justin Holiday is going to play 40 minutes against I just think that's better than, well, maybe this happens with this guy and this guy. I don't know. It's just comes down to, I feel the minutes are more secure. Fewer guys are going to get the minutes, and the matchup is better, and the ownerships are all roughly comparable. So I'm much more inclined to play Grizzlies than Knicks. Leave it at that.
We've been Fizdaled so much recently where I absolutely get that. Question from the premium Slack, since you are Team Grizzlies, and not that I'm not, I like the Grizzlies as well, but how would you rank the Grizzlies who are remaining in terms of your interest for fantasy tonight?
Yeah, so again, I would really like to get news on health. Without a word on JaMychal Green, which I expect him to be available and play some number of minutes. But I'm not shocked if he sits because it's just sort of a punt game. At this point, this team is talking about trading for assets, so they don't care about winning. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're saying, we'll get rid of Marc Gasol, we'll get rid of Mike Conley, we're not going to make the playoffs this year. I don't know why, if you have JaMychal Green with 2 sore knees, he goes out there today and plays, if he could only play 5 minutes. I have no idea. You're very possibly going to lose the game anyway, but you don't really care if you do at this point. So, let Avon Robb play 30 damn minutes. But at this point, I imagine that Bickerstaff screws that up and we get some JaMychal Green time. If he plays, I love Jaren Jackson Jr. He's just got to not foul out, which is no simple thing for him. But he's going to play every minute under the goddamn sun. Like him, Rob, and Marc Gasol are going to play the 3-4-5 time. It's a pristine matchup for Marc Gasol, by the way. I didn't specifically touch on that. But one of the reasons, someone asked me before what I thought about spend-up options with Harden and Westbrook and Jokic. One of the reasons I have Jokic as the 3rd guy on that list I kind of want to play today is just I really like Rudy Gobert and I really like Marc Gasol. So I like Jokic. Jokic is barely my number 2 scorer behind James Harden. I just think that even if I think I'm going to get 62 out of Jokic, I think I'm going to get 45 to 55 out of Gobert and Gasol, and that works for several $1,000s less, for $3,000 to $4,000 off. So, so really love Marc Gasol. Love Jaren Jackson Jr. If we can presume he's in reasonably good health. Again, just a starting notification will do fine there. Oh, another reason to like this team, they start a half hour earlier. They start at lock, so we should know a little bit more. That's not irrelevant to me. I like Bruno Caboclo. I like him more than Mario Hezonja. I think he starts and plays 32 minutes tonight. Triple J unlikely to play just came out. So everybody on my team yet? Like Avon Robb and like Bruno Caboclo is now gonna start at the 3 and back up the 4, or they're gonna start. Maybe they'll start Mac, Carter, Caboclo, Mac starter, Holiday, Green.
Can JaMychal even play minutes right now? Like,
sorry?
Is he okay enough?
Like, Holiday is going to start and play 40 minutes. I don't know if he's going to start at the 2 or the 3. Mac is maybe not going to start. They like to bring him off the bench, but I think he starts at point guard and plays like 33 minutes. Caboclo, I think, will now start at the 3 is my best guess. But they will either start him or Javon Carter. They probably start Javon Carter because they've been more inclined to that in the past. But much like, say, Kenrich, he's just on the come the last couple games that they don't play in overtime. So maybe they start Caboclo instead. I'm probably 50-50 on whether it's Carter or Caboclo. But either way, I prefer Caboclo, who's a better fantasy player, playing a spot down, going to get more minutes. So I want Caboclo there anyway. Grizzlies will start Shelvin Mack, Javon Carter, Holiday, JaMychal Green, and Gasol. Okay, so JaMychal Green is getting the start, and he's $3,600 goddamn dollars on FanDuel, I think it is. So, sure, have some of that. But JaMychal Green, Marc Gasol, and Avon Robb should play all the time there. Caboclo will be yeah. So they're going to play those 5 guys. The only guy out of those 5, the 2 out of those 5 who will play less than 30 minutes, maybe, would be Javon Carter and JaMychal Green. The former because he's not that good and he just can get backed up by guys who are a little bit better, and JaMychal Green because, again, he's fucked up right now. It seems really dumb to play him at this point, but again, we've been through that. So I don't really like Carter, but you can still certainly play him, and I'd rather play Damian Dotson than Javon Carter. I will see that. But I like Mac. I like Holiday. I like JaMychal Green where he costs nothing. I love Marc Gasol, who, if this game is going to stay close, which isn't an impossibility. Marc Gasol, they played, 9 days ago, and Marc Gasol had a triple-double. He had, with Mike Conley and Kyle Anderson, with the whole team there, he had 22, 17, and 12, or whatever. He had some ridiculous triple-double with 70 fantasy points. So, yeah, I think he might get there, okay? Yeah, so anyhow, love this team. So someone said, rank them. It unfortunately is entirely dependent on site. On FanDuel, JaMychal Green would be, my number 2 guy. On Yahoo, he'd be, my number 7. Literally, I'm not even kidding. So you sort of have to decide for yourself because they're just spots and positional scarcity on different sites. We're paying the different prices for these guys. So it really ends up being all over the place. Holiday, I really like in this spot. Holiday, I think, plays, I'll go 39 minutes, but that might be conservative. How does all of this affect the Hornets? It doesn't. You still really only want to play Kemba. It's a spot in which they will play a lot of time for Bismack Biyombo. In that last game, I think Biyombo played 29 minutes. Now, it's not a good matchup, so he's just sort of still a deep GPP play for me. I think it was 29 minutes, 24 fantasy points when they played all those games ago. But he is their best chance of their centers of slowing down Marc Gasol, and that's why he got all that time last game. And as I previously stated, it didn't exactly work. But number 1 guy for me would be Kemba, which makes sense. You're running it back here. He's priced down enough. I don't love Kemba. I still he's been much less efficient as a player for a while now. And it has a lot to do with the center play alongside with Cody Zeller is one of those guys who just did a lot of the unspoken things for this team as far as screens and rolls and all sorts of things to really assist Kemba. So with him gone, it's really starting to wear on him. So he is, I think he is a significantly worse player than he was a couple of months ago as far as his fantasy value just because of the staff around him. But, versus Memphis is still not a great pace-up spot. Although I will say, this Memphis team is going to play a little faster. Mm-hmm. They call them slow-mo for a reason. They're putting some kids out there. We're going to run a little bit. Not that JaMychal Green is a blur, but...
Mac likes to move a little, so I think that could change the pace a little bit.
Yeah, I love Shelvin Mack. Shelvin Mack is probably my favorite everywhere, but if the ownership is that high, then probably not, is what I'm saying for tournaments. Mack is, really good value, though. I like the spot quite a bit. I would right now have Shelvin Mack probably projected for a slightly above average spot. He's basically a 0.8, 0.85 guy. I'll give him 0.9 on 34 minutes, so we'll call it 30.6 fantasy points in 34 minutes. I'll say is my projection for Shelvin Mack, which feels pretty good at 3,500 or whatever the hell he costs. So Mack, same thing with Holiday. He's going to take 20 shots. This is a matchup where I could see him picking up 5 steals, which is something he's brilliant at. So, yeah, the chalky guys, end up being Mack, Holiday, and Gasol. In tournaments, Carter, Caboclo, Rob, and I guess Javon Carter. But those 7 guys are going to eat all the minutes, guys. They're going to play 8 guys, and one of them is going to be some, 9 minutes of, what the hell is his name? Actually, I'm sorry. They will probably play 8 guys full-time because you will see Joakim Noah suck up some minutes. Again, it was only 13 in that last game. And then you might get blow out Jamal Washburn, I think, is with the team. But that's it. They're gonna have very centralized minutes, as opposed to the Knicks, who I really think very possibly have 10 guys getting 24 to 28. So.
All right. Hey, well, we'll check back on this one. I'm with you on Memphis.
Half hour on that game.
Okay. Yeah, let's not sleep on the beloved New York Knicks. Let's all kiss the Knicks logo at center court, like Enes Kanter. Who probably won't get much action tonight. It's also at the halfway marker of the show, so we are going to do a little bit of mid-time or halftime daddy likes here. Eddie, this one should be easy for you. Number 1 on the list, Shelvin Mack, 46% projected ownership. How's Daddy feel about it?
46 is still a big number, kids. I'll go over though. I mean, if there's I don't like, when there's a lot of value and it's all sort of specious. Really don't like super loading on someone. So if I'm saying I'm going to play 50% Mac, but I imagine that'd be about the number. So I would be a hair over. You don't want to go crazy, but obviously I have a significant projection for him, and it's not for no reason. It is a fine matchup for him. Yeah, I like it quite a bit. And you have, Javon Carter out there doing his very best. Nick Batum, I'm going to stand here and watch this game. So that's going to enhance him a little bit. So I'll go over. Daddy likes.
Yeah, I am also for a fact over on him in my lineup so far, so I support you there. Nikola Jokic, number 2 at 39%.
I'll go under. Again, it's going to be a little site dependent, and you could play him alongside another center. But it isn't a matchup that I'm overly thrilled with. Having Murray out isn't strictly a good thing. The one-on-one matchup is great. You can certainly see this turning into another Jokic triple-double game. There's no reason I think that he doesn't randomly put up 60 or 70 here, but mostly because you're always choosing against other guys. And I would slightly rather play, and again, it's very site-dependent. FanDuel, I like Jokic more than Paul George. DK, where I get $1,000 off, I'd slightly rather play Paul George because positionally I can play pretty easily a 2-cheap Paul George, a 2-cheap Marc Gasol, and a 2-cheap Rudy Gobert. I just think that lineup is a little better. So I'll go slightly under that on Jokic. I would still want a lot of Jokic. You're really surprised if he doesn't give you 50 here, and certainly 70 is in the books. But I will go under that number.
Yeah, I'm about with the field on that, and I agree. I think there's there are strong center plays there who are a little cheaper.
Oh, Cornette is starting, and Vonleh's moving to the 4. Okay, they have revised their lineup. Lance Thomas to the bench. Cornette starting now. So now. Okay, if you had Cornette ownership, $4,300, I think it is on DK. Cornette is a starting center. I think he probably plays 24 minutes. Matchup isn't terrible. Could work out. Could just serve to make Vonleh worse. And, now you have Lance maybe playing backup 3 and 4 off the bench. And now maybe Hazonia lost some time because now he's fighting with Lance for some of that backup time. So maybe now it's 27 minutes of Hazonia instead of 31. It's just sort of a mess, but now Alan Dotson knocks Vonleh and Una Cornette starting for the Knicks.
Interesting. I hope it all helps out Kadeem Allen. That's all we can ask for in this crazy workaday world of ours.
Kadeem Allen, he's cheap. I will, gentlemen, if you'd like to think about this, I will bet you or gentlemen's bet you whatever you would like on Shelvin Matt Kadeem Allen.
Oh, but I'm playing a shitload of both guys. So that's the thing is I don't have a dog in the race. I'm going to be way over the field on Mac. I'm going to be way probably pretty.
No, you have dogs in the race. I have no dogs in the race. I'm trying to bet you so that I can have a dog in the race.
I'm not going to give you your action. I'm not going to give you that fix.
Okay. I offered you 10-1 last time. What was it? I offered you 10-1 on Wednesday.
10-1 on Frank Jackson starting over.
Yeah, you didn't take it.
But who was the better play? Fucking Tim Frazier. Tim Frazier killed
$10. Yeah, I didn't. We weren't betting on who was going to be better. I was fine with playing either of them, but.
I bet on the merits of players, and not on coaches' whims. That's how I go.
I will bet on Shelvin Mack scoring more fantasy points on a site of your choice than Kadeem Allen is what I'm saying, not who starts.
Oh, but that's also honestly, I think that's also true. So I'll think about it if there's an angle here. But while we're talking about this guy, number 3 on the list, Kadeem Allen, 38%.
I'll go under.
You bastard. You dirty. No, we've talked enough about him. Number 4, Mario Hazonia.
Could he get on top of it? Yes. Whenever I'm looking at these guys, I'm looking at who is most likely to fail. Kadeem Allen is much more likely to abjectly fail, in my opinion, than Shelvin Mack. So I will play Shelvin Mack.
I concur. I do agree with you, but I will defend Kadeem Allen until he stabs me in the heart in just a few short hours. Okay. Mario Hazonia, number 4, 36% on DraftKings.
No.
Why the no, though? Because he's been playing 30 minutes already anyway. He's going to get more shots, obviously, with, again, the Hardaway. And
this team does anything that makes sense. This team, the number of times this year where they had a case of this guy is now out, this should happen, and the opposite thing happened is legendary. They've been doing it over and over again, which is just like, oh, okay, we want, this guy to get more time. Oh, this guy went out and then he lost minutes. And then even with this player, Mario Hazonia was playing 30 minutes a game, and then other guys went out, and then Mario Hazonia went out of the rotation for a while. Not for any particular reason, but I'm trying to remember the particulars here. But there was literally, Kevin Knox or Tim Hardaway. It was just some game where it was like, all right, Hezonja played 30 minutes last game. Tim Hardaway is out. Hezonja played 16 minutes. Like, it just literally the most random shit in the world. So, sure, I do think the likelihood is that they endeavor to give Mario Hezonja 32 minutes. If you asked me to project his minutes tonight, amortizing all options, gun to my head, I would say something like 29. Because he's not going to get more than 32 or 33. I think that's the most likely scenario. But there's a real chance he randomly gets 22 minutes because we needed Lance Thomas's defense. So he played the backup 3 behind, or Kevin Knox got hot, or like just, I just think there's a much greater than, I just think there's a very significant chance his minutes randomly disappear. Not a probability, but 30% chance he plays under 25 minutes.
I think that's pretty reasonable, all things considered. Let's see. And number 5 on the list, the guy who you also like quite a bit, Monty Morris, 31%.
Yeah, get in there. We'd love to get a lineup. Probably won't get a lineup. But I'm worried. The way that goes sideways, and again, much happier on FanDuel where it's shooting guard and can drop and cheaper and all those good things. But again, that can go sideways a couple ways, which would be Gary Harris starting and maybe he doesn't. They let Will Barton go back to playing point guard, which was the plan the game before last, and they start Torrey Craig, which is something they want to do against Houston, just to have one more quality defender out there. So I have concerns there. So at the moment, with the news on hand, I'll dislike that as well. I would come in under that on DraftKings at the moment. That is a little too high for me. And it is, like, I like Monty Morris. We've been talking about Monty Morris and Malik Beasley because of the injuries on this team for a long time. And they have very different roles, and Beasley a little better as a slasher scorer wing, and Monty Morris is the point guard between the two of them. So you are looking at different circumstances when to take which one. And Beasley is in play again tonight. But they are roughly comparably good players, and in general, when Morris has a huge night, I'm a fan of playing Beasley and vice versa, because it is going to go back and forth. They both many nights play 24 to 26 minutes, and yeah, you just told me that the ownership on Monty Morris is whatever, 30%. The ownership on Beasley is probably 8%, and Monty Morris isn't 4 times as good. So I'd be more inclined to play Beasley at this particular moment. That would change again if we had a confirmed Morris start, but.
So again, some questions in the premium Slack to talk about the Celtics side more. For me, that's actually a big part of why I think the Knicks are intriguing, is because I think it's a big spot where if they keep it close, it could be a massive spot for Kyrie Irving here, though I think it could also go the other way, to be honest, because these trade rumors things and him saying he doesn't owe anybody anything or doesn't owe anybody shit, if we're going to exactly quote him, pretty troubling, but it's a big game in MSG. If you're going to make your statement game, this is it. How are you feeling about Kyrie, Al Horford, and the rest of the Celtics?
I tell you, I am not a Celtics fan. If I was, I would be like, really? Really? Like, Kyrie came out and it's center court and the whole team there and the lights on and street clothes and be like, look, I just wanted to let you know, I'm going to re-sign when my contract's up. Yeah, everyone goes nuts. And it was like the really cool, mature, adult thing to do. And it's
just wanted a cheap pop.
It's self-sacrificing, but right, he gets his cheap pop, he Mick Foley styles it, and everyone goes crazy. And then, like, a couple months later, it's like, whoa. I didn't know there would be other trades. I'm going to, like, it's like, what happened? Like, either you decided, I like this group of guys, I like management, I'm here for the long term. When you say that, you don't turn around and go, like, well, now, things have changed. Did you think the NBA was going to be static for 4 years beyond? Anyway, so that was, yeah, I think the most likely thing that happens is the Celtics absolutely destroy them, and Kyrie Irving plays 25 minutes. Now, I still haven't projected for 49 fantasy points, with the very real possibility that he plays 25 minutes, and those two things are not mutually exclusive. No matter how much you might like Kadeem Allen, I'm not thinking he shuts down Kyrie with a terrible degree of efficiency. So
I'm going to disagree with you there. No, I'm kidding.
You should have seen my eyes bug out when you hit me with, I think Damian Dotson is a better Tim Hardaway. You got a very nice face out of me for a minute there.
Whatever. I'm a Dotson stan. I'll go down with that.
I like the most random guys in this damn league. So I'm with you. God bless you. No need to slow your roll on my account. But yeah. So again, if you think the Celtics crush them, nobody's great. Like, I ended up ranking guys like Vanilla Tice and like some of the other guys on this team because I think, hey, Brad Wanamaker may get 24 minutes because of this. But they're all interesting in GPPs. It's hard for me to have a preference. It's probably Kyrie, just because, well, he's the guy who can actually give me 75, and 75 makes me happy. Horford has looked absolutely great. Talked about him a lot. That price has obviously come up. He's in Marc Gasol range, and I think we know how I feel about that. But I totally don't have an issue with someone playing Horford. I don't have issue with someone playing Tatum, who's still too cheap. Although then it's just like I slightly prefer Justice Winslow everywhere, and there's just other guys I sort of like over that. You can run Marcus Morris. You can run Marcus Smart. You can run Jaylen Brown. But with Kyrie back, all these guys are, sort of priced a little bit for half Kyrie lists. And when there's all the Kyrie there, they're not priced that great. And obviously it's the Knicks. You could get some crushery. But, yeah, I wish I could give you a better take on this. Because as far as, beyond Kyrie, who I expect to be remarkably efficient, it's difficult to know who picks up the scraps there. So, yeah, it'd be Kyrie for me, then Horford, then good luck, probably Tatum most sites, so it's a little price dependent.
All right, so I think we've covered those spots enough with the Memphis and the Knicks stuff. Let's go to Atlanta and Utah.
Sure.
Utah getting the biggest pace up in the night of the day. Big Vegas boost as well. We have the Rudy Gobert all-star snub narrative working for him. Some murmurs about Ricky Rubio maybe being on the move, perhaps, for Mike Conley.
To Conley, yeah, that's right. Back to Memphis.
Yeah, so we'll see about that, but I would currently expect Rubio to play, and he's in a pretty good spot. I like pace up Rubio. How are you feeling about the opportunity here, and are you buying into the Gobert narrative?
All-star snub, is that the narrative to which we're referring?
Yeah. Everybody's Rubio commented on it. The team president commented on it. It's been a big to-do in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Omri Caspi is undergoing surgery for a torn meniscus. Tragedy. Yep. Similar to the very similar situation to the Celtics, and that these guys should all crush. The difference being we can be a little more confident about where the production goes. Celtics run a little deeper, run the minutes a little thinner, are a little quicker to get everyone the hell out in a blowout. Atlanta going into Utah also probably takes a pretty serious spanking. Although they've played a lot of teams close recently. They went into Toronto. They've handled a number of very difficult teams recently. So I think it's much more likely the Hawks keep this game close than the Knickerbockers. But even on the road, I'll go with that. But I'm not playing any Hawks, which was my position last game too. It's just like they're just too many of them now, and they're going on the road, and you'd have to. In 150, I'd have a couple Deadmans and a couple Alex Lenz and a couple John Collins, because he can randomly 20 and 10, and power forward's kind of thin on FanDuel. There aren't any really good pay-up options, so none is a bit of a stretch, but by far my least represented team out of the 10 playing tonight. I really am not excited about playing. Also on the front end of a back-to-back, by the way. We haven't done that yet. 10 teams playing tonight. No one on the back end of the back-to-back. 6 teams on the front end. Hawks, Hornets, Nuggets, Rockets, Heat, and Jazz all play tomorrow. Basically everyone plays tomorrow, by the way. 12 gamer tomorrow, which somebody's going to show up and help me with. We'll find out who, but somebody's going to be here.
Scheduling.
Yeah. All those guys play. So, again, this ends up being really site-dependent, but there's no one you're not going to like against the Hawks who's going to get minutes. So you're basically talking about the 5 starters and Jay Crowder. And it ends up being really site-dependent as far as Ingles is too cheap on DraftKings, and Rubio is really cheap on Yahoo, and Jay Crowder's 4,500 on FanDuel, and they end up being, none of them are so superlatively owned that I'm not just sort of taking those pricing angles. But I have absolutely no issue with Gobert in cash, Rubio in cash where he's priced too cheap, maybe even Ingles in cash on DK, but Donovan Mitchell, yeah, probably in cash. I mean, the more time Rubio gets, the less value with Mitchell. He's kind of highly priced, so I don't think I would have him in cash because I think there's other priorities. But, him against the Hawks, it's really hard to imagine an abject failure. So, ends up being a little site-dependent, but basically, yeah, any of those 6 guys, I'm not, I have no issue with, certainly in tournaments, and as mentioned, where they're cheap enough in cash. Let me see if I have anyone else I haven't mentioned. Just that I had extensive.
You got to talk James Harden too a little before we go take questions.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Chris Paul. I do think Chris Paul gets a little more time again today. I don't think the environment is a particularly brilliant one for James Harden, which, again, I say sort of whimsically because, James Harden doesn't really care about environment. He could be playing at the base of Olympia Mons on Mars and probably put on a pretty decent game without a spacesuit. Like, he's a bit of all right, that guy.
I'm going to disagree, Eddie. I think he couldn't breathe.
He could hold his breath for 48 minutes. 40 minutes.
All right, fine. All right. I just want to answer things literally.
You've got me. If anyone took me seriously, and if there is a basketball game on the base of Olympia Mons on Mars, and James Harden is playing in it and doesn't have a spacesuit, no, I wouldn't take him. Let's see. Just DK, some of the guys who are priced too cheap. Ingles, we mentioned. Paul George, still under 10K, which, believe it or not, even against Miami is a little bit too cheap for him. Justice Winslow in that same game. Still Paul Millsap in that matchup specifically around 5,000. I'm a pretty big fan of Paul Millsap tonight. If you're playing on Yahoo, Marc Gasol is way the hell too cheap. He's $27, which is the equivalent of, I don't know, 6,200 or something. That's a good one. Other guys, Crowder on FanDuel we mentioned and talked about Monty Morris there, Trier there, I suppose.
How about Kenneth Faried? Any thoughts on him? His price is up, but it is his first game against Denver since being moved out of there. Obviously, he has been really good. How are you feeling about him?
He's used to playing in the altitude, or used to sitting in the altitude and watching other people play. That helps there. I mean, he is $8,000 on FanDuel. Okay, you're like, he's not out of place simply because power forward is a mess. Like, the best power forward on FanDuel is probably Noah Vonleh, and you know how I feel about the Knicks today. So it's Noah Vonleh or starting JaMychal Green, who's again I think like 30. I'm looking for 3,600 for JaMychal Green, who is starting. Bam Adebayo at 4,400. Derek Favors at 53. Paul Millsap at 54. I guess Marcus Morris at 55. But it is thin. Like it is not pretty there. Like Jeremy Grant is going to be like 20% owned. So he's in play even on FanDuel just because of how thin the position is. But yeah, you don't want to do it unless you really have to. So, yeah.
All right, let's take some questions in the premium Slack. Sir Legend asking about Rab and Mac or Kadeem Allen and Caboclo for a DK single entry GPP.
Rob and Mac, Kadeem Allen and Caboclo. I would play Rob and Mac.
I would play Robin Black or Robin Big Black from that. A terrible MTV show. Not terrible.
Took me a minute. I'm like, where is he going with this? Gotcha. You're good.
It was actually a little bit after my time even, so I feel like we might not be the demographic for it. But the young kids out there playing DFS will appreciate that, I'm sure. Hazonia and Rubio or it's a 3-choice. Hazonia, Rubio, Cornette and Vonleh, or Hazonia and Vonleh for DK cash.
Cornette and Vonleh.
That was a dramatic pause.
I know. I have to I don't like the answer. It takes me a minute to figure it out sometimes. They're all close enough, so I'm literally adding numbers and subtracting a point. So it's pretty damn close.
How about Morris and Hazonia or Trier and Knox for FanDuel cash?
Trier and Knox.
Would you recommend?
I'd really rather play like Monty Morris and Crowder, which would be a small forward and a shooting guard that I feel much better about. But for what it's worth.
Let's see. Would you recommend no Jazz and a GPP? Gibbs 15 is asking.
No, I'd probably recommend one Jazz and a GPP. Like, if you're telling me I'm going to build a lineup, how many Jazz should I have? My best answer would probably be one. I think one is probably best. 3 is too many. 2 and 0, I'd go back and forth on which I prefer, as obviously that's an incredibly vague question. But I think I would be more inclined towards 1 than none. I don't think it's a problem having none. Like, you're betting on a blowout at that point. Like, you're just saying they crush them, and, the bench gets half the time, just nobody ends up being that good, and no one on the bench there's that high usage of a guy, and meh. You're just sort of punting the idea. So I'm fine with it, but, don't play, Trae Young in that lineup. Don't play John Collins in that
Would you go Favors and JaMychal Green or Jeremy Grant and Justin Holiday on Yahoo Cash?
In cash, I'd play Jeremy Grant and Justin Holiday.
All right. Westbrook and Mitchell or Harden and Rubio for a FanDuel GPP?
I'd play Harden and Rubio in a GPP.
Would you go Millsap or Eric Gordon on DK, or is there anything under 5K that you'd recommend instead of those two?
Millsap over Eric Gordon with both the other big dogs in there. I don't have much interest in Eric Gordon. He can always randomly get hot, but is there anyone I would go in there over 5? Nope. Millsap it is for me. Next guy I'd want to play over there would be like Malik Beasley or Alex Len or maybe Jay Crowder, but I'd prefer Millsap to all those guys. And I'm looking at actually the DK GPP lineup I've been building, and Millsap is in it. So ended in the same place, my friend.
Caboclo or Allen? Straight up points on DK. Who has more?
I'll take Caboclo.
Ooh. You know what? Two of my favorites on the night, so... I'll go Kadeem, just slightly though, just ever so slightly.
I mean, if Jaren Jackson Jr. isn't playing at this point, it's all bets are off, kids. Like, get him in there.
It's true. Let's see. I think we're good on Slack. YouTube. Any good questions for YouTube? Actually, no. Let's talk about Tyler Johnson real fast because he is starting now. How are you feeling about him?
Did they put him back in the starting lineup?
I believe that was what people in the chat were saying. Yeah.
I'm gonna go looking for that because I hadn't specifically heard that, so I'd want that confirmed. Because I was not certain that he was going to start. So I'm looking to see that confirmed somewhere. Yep, there it is. We'll start ahead of Wayne Ellington. Okay, first of all, good. Wayne Ellington should not be starting in the NBA. I need to recheck the prices. For some reason, that just did not enter into my research today. So DK, which tends to be the most important, 4,200. I like that a lot. Yeah, defense has been slacking up a little bit there due to injury and a couple other things. T. Ferg letting it down a little bit. But I like him a lot. I think you're probably, I'd project like 28 minutes. So, yeah, especially at what I project would be some pretty low ownership at this point. I like Tyler Johnson at 4,200, or assuming he's around $12 on Yahoo. That makes sense for me. I assume they're calling FanDuel is like $5,000 and he's point guard. That seems like too much, but yeah, DK price. I think that's just fine.
Who would be your favorite power forward under 5.6K on FanDuel?
No, Vonleh. It's 5.5, right? Going to check, but I have a pretty strong feeling it's Vonleh. Well, you have Vonleh, Marcus Morris, Millsap, and Favors as all reasonable choices right in there at that price. I will slightly edge towards Millsap actually in that matchup. So I'll say Paul Millsap.
Okay. Let's see. No more questions in the Slack. By the way, make sure to hit the like button right now. It helps us out quite a bit. Makes all the answers to your questions even better. Jeremy Grant or Jason Tatum? Who would you go with?
I would play Jeremy Grant in cash and Jason Tatum in tournaments.
Another Grant question. Grant and Bruno or Millsap and Hazonia for FanDuel? No tournament or cash. No.
Grant and Bruno.
Hazonia, Westbrook, and Gobert, or Knox, Harden, and Monty in DK cash?
The second one.
Rubio or Vonleh?
Yeah. Probably Rubio and cash. Probably Rubio and cash or tournaments for me. Ricky Rubio.
Oh, this is a fun one to ask you from Sneaker Kenny in the YouTube chat. Dotson and Holiday or Hazonia?
Dotson and Holiday or Mac and Hazonia?
Yep.
Dotson and Holiday.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Who's coming on Team Dotson?
With well, as opposed to Team Hazonia?
Yeah, I guess it's like not quite a Jacob versus the vampire dude.
Not
Edward, whatever the Twilight thing was. Yeah, there we go. That's right.
Hair.
You are the handsome vampire in my life.
With the big hair, yeah.
Westbrook or Mitchell, Paul George or Gobert for DK. That was asked weirdly.
One more time.
Westbrook or Mitchell, Paul George or Gobert. I don't
understand the question. I apologize.
No, that's fair. I tried.
Westbrook or Mitchell, which is like $2,000 difference. Paul George or Gobert is $1,400 difference. Like I simply do not understand the question. I apologize.
Yeah, the math there doesn't quite check out. Sorry, Soham, but yeah, ask it better. Harden's still a good play on FanDuel, or would you go to Donovan Mitchell?
I'm fine with Harden. There's no reason to force. I like those two plays about evenly. I probably like Harden a little bit more, but nothing has changed where I'm trying to make a pivot at the moment. So wherever you are is fine. I don't think you need to force a change with 10 seconds to go.
Caboclo and Knox or Hazonia and Crowder for FanDuel cash?
Caboclo and Knox.
All right, and
we are locked.
Yeah, there we go. It's changed over. We did it. Now we can see. Now we can see how your Grizzly boys shake out. Yes. You're a big fan of Bears. We all know that.
The Bears can smell the menstruation. That's Anchorman times 3 today, boys.
Can you get into more before we finish the show?
That's what she said. Got nothing.
That's wrong product.
That's like The Office. But I will try to keep my head out for it's not really my thing. For some reason, we got 3 Anchorman references on today's show, but I will do my best.
Did you hear the podcast with Adam McKay where he credited Bill Simmons for popularizing Anchorman because he put the quotes in an ESPN page 2 column?
I did not see that particular podcast. No.
So does that you? Because I love Bill Simmons. I do feel like sometimes content person you tend to inflate your own importance to things. But if the director says it, that seems like a credible thing. I just feel like Bill Simmons may not get enough credit if that actually is the case.
Yeah, I like Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons is someone people like to hate, and I understand if it's not somebody's thing, but he's super cheesy, and he's a Boston stan, and I get him not being someone's guy, but he's very similar to Matthew Berry for me, and I've met Simmons once and Matthew Berry 14 times, and I totally get if people are oh, they're so milquetoast and sort of, but it's they're mass media. That's the way you get mass media, is you're non-offensive. I don't think you get the anyway.
Yeah.
But no, I mean movies get big for all the most random reasons. So I can totally believe that it was one of those movies that really took off on video, a la The Crow or The Room or just various other things that find a medium.
That is an eclectic trio of movies you referenced to make that point.
Yeah, that went pretty random there. Look at this ownership. Here we go. Shelvin Mack, 53. Okay, that's again a little higher than we said, and that's right about where I would be, so I'm fine with that number. Marc Gasol, 31. Over. Daddy likes. I'd want more than that. JaMychal Green, 30. Under. Could work out really well. It started last game. He made it 5 minutes. We'll see how it goes. Bruno Caboclo, 29%. All right, good job, Internet. Good job, people. Good looking out. Well done. Justin Holiday, 24%. I'd probably be over that, but that's about right. He's he does have a floor, but he's going to play near 40 minutes now. Kemba Walker, 18%. Daddy likes that. Avon Robb, 9%. Daddy likes that. Nick Batum, 5%. Meh. Jeremy Lamb, 4.5%. Meh. Javon Carter, 4%. Yeah, I guess it'd probably be over 4%. Marvin Williams, 2. Joakim Noah, 1.6. Bismack Biyombo, 1.5. I like that at 3,900. Malik Monk, 1.3, sure. Hernan Gomez, 1%. Okay. Kyle Anderson, 0.83%. I guess that's 1 out of every 100 lineups he was in earlier today because he was going to be chalk as hell at 4,400. But congratulations. You played yourself. Also, shout out Jaren Jackson Jr., 0.17%. Mike Conley, 0.04.
Jeez. It's a lot of Kyle, though. I'm surprised people didn't figure that one out. We're going to get hours.
Yeah, that's a little bit odd. Although, again, I mean, he was literally 50% of lineups, so that's literally 1 out of 100 lineups earlier in the day that had him in it or whatever. Or one of, what was he? He was 0.83%, so 1 out of 60 lineups got stuck with him, which still, again, feels like too much, but, that's how it goes, I say.
Yeah, so there we go. That's it. Anything else you want to touch on today? Anything you want to hit on for that we didn't hit for the games which have not locked yet?
I miss your Musk. When this all blows over, you and I should get an apartment together. And Oh, I don't know. There's so many good ones.
We didn't talk enough about the Thunder. I like the Thunder a lot, but any game that they're in it till the fourth quarter, Paul George and Westbrook smash. And I don't know the amount of tournaments that they've been in, the tournament winning lineups rather they've been in. I feel like it's very high. Like whenever they just go to the fourth, they have monster days in concert, and I think people haven't fully picked up on that yet.
I have both of them in the FanDuel GPP lineup that I entered in nothing. I like the value a lot, and I played Marc Gasol at center, so I ended up with Paul George and Russell Westbrook running out the 23 grand for those two men. And I like the lineup quite a bit. So I feel like I'm still due one more Anchorman reference. So,
do you feel like you're trapped in a glass case of emotion because of that play?
Milk was a bad choice. News team assemble. Now this is happening. Odin's Raven. Just trying to think of a good one to really finish it off with. I immediately regret this decision. There we go.
We didn't talk about your favorite player, Jeremy Lamb. Don't you love Lamb?
Oh God, Lamp. Jesus.
It felt good. It was so bad. It was good.
Tight, gonna grab some afternoon delight.
This is, I don't know why this question's relevant, but XXX Achilles is asking it now. Do you prefer JaMychal Green or Hazonia? I would prefer JaMychal personally right now.
Oh God, I guess I'll prefer JaMychal. They can both fail in such spectacular ways in this spot, but he's starting, so you have to think there's at least some good chance he starts and plays 35 minutes and is just clearly way the hell too cheap for that sort of role. So, especially his ownership on FanDuel. I'm gonna see if I can find ownership for JaMychal on FanDuel, because it should be insane. And he's the best power forward by such a stellar margin. Okay, there's the FanDuel. Okay.
Also, Antoine asking, since we talked OKC and we didn't talk much about them during the show, any thoughts on Steven Adams here returning to the lineup with his injury problems?
He's fine. He's more of a cash game play for me. It is not the greatest of spots for him, and in mid-range, I'm looking more at Gasol or Gobert, but obviously he's really cheap. He's like 6,400 on DK, so not out of play at all on a 5-game slate. I'd probably have him prioritized as center number 4 with Whiteside at 5. So I'd probably have Jokic, Gobert, Gasol as top 3, but then it would probably be to Steven Adams.
Yeah, I feel like the Jokic, Gasol, Gobert trio was too hard for me to get away from, so I didn't even get down to Adams at all. It's just those three all look like they're in fantastic spots.
All right, let's see. The 360K Friday NBA shot on FanDuel, which, they're really trying to measure the pocketbook well when not 400, but not 350, 360. Like, can we get 10 more out of 10? Can we get it? 361. Is that it? Anyway. Sheldon Mack, 47%. Marc Gasol, 24%. JaMychal Green, 50. Yeah, sounds right. It was a shit position, so I'm not shocked. But if he ends up playing like 9 minutes or some shit, don't say it in warm, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the most team J. Mike, but he has not been looking up to form. It's weird that both he and Jaren Jackson are both kind of suffering from injuries at the same time.
It's funny that you and I have had two notable colloquies about JaMychal Green thus far this year. The first time, you took him over someone I really liked on some day, and I don't recall the resolution, but there was some day where you were like, "No, JaMychal," and I was like, "That guy's shit," and you were like, "No, JaMychal." And then there was a time just about a month ago where I was huge on JaMychal Green, and he went out and had like a GPP winning day, and you played none.
Yep, that is correct.
I can't remember the context beyond that, but I remember being like, that was the first day of the year I had been like, JaMychal Green, my guy tonight. It was one of those things I love where he was 4% owned, and we were half of that 4%, and he crushed. It's just about my favorite feeling in the world. And then the next day you're like, yeah, I had none. I'm like, that's unfortunate because you played him in a lot worse spots.
Yeah, no, it's true. JaMychal's been my guy, especially because of the Jaren Jackson foul trouble. It's always been a thing where, like, if I sense he's gonna get into foul trouble, then I'll put in a little JaMychal just to have a taste. But yeah,
I believe against the Pelicans, if memory serves, because I seem to recall some of my thinking being like, yeah, he's gonna get in foul trouble, and I actually kind of like the spot for it. So that's what I seem to recall.
I wish I remembered what that first game was, because I'm positive. Like, I remember it because I remember being really happy about it, that I was right about JaMychal And that's why I felt more confident giving you the JaMychal's my guy. I feel like it might have been the Pelicans.
Yeah.
You're right. It's one of those games in there where he didn't start. There was no reason to really like him, but he just popped for me. And stupid Jaren Jackson got in foul trouble. Well, we'll see.
All right.
What do we think JaMychal does tonight?
How do I think he does tonight? There's just obviously a huge range of outcomes. I think the most likely scenario is that he plays 30 minutes and has 27 fantasy points. As if you said, give me your best guess at his minutes in production, which makes him, again, superlatively excellent on fucking FanDuel. He's $3,600. But there's a real chance of, he plays 16 minutes or 20 minutes or 24, because, again, he's been jacked the hell up, and the team shouldn't care that much about winning right now, and Caboclo can play at the 4, and Von Robb looked good last game, and he played into overtime, so, if I was playing, that would be a really tough spot for me, because he projects very, very nicely, especially on FanDuel. Yeah,
let's all pray for the 50% of people out there playing JaMychal on FanDuel. We're rooting for you, rooting for JaMychal's success. I got some.
Tell me, of our paid subscribers, are we over or under that? And then that's what I'm rooting for. The paid subscribers I would think they're under. I'm gonna throw a guess at it, but I don't know. But I think they're under, and that's probably to some degree my fault. So for that reason, I hope he fails, because I'm guessing that the paying people watching the show have less than half of their exposure. So I'll go with that.
All right. So there we go. Let's root for the Grizzlies. More importantly, let's root for the Knicks. Keep it competitive. Make me look smart. Damian Dotson. This one goes out to Damian Dotson, Kadeem Allen. We're all getting drinks when you guys were out in LA. When you guys make money for me today at high volume. I'm sure that's what's going to happen. But there we go. That's it for the week. Anything you want to hit on, Eddie, before we wrap this thing up?
No, almost said I will be back tomorrow. I've heard rumblings that it might be a long-awaited reunion between me and EMAC. It may be me and then Josh Engelman, whose wife left him to go to Aruba. All right, she didn't leave him.
You got to get her groove back.
Felt fun saying that. No, his wife is out of town, so he would be available on the weekend to second chair with me, or the first chair that I might second chair with him.
All right, so there you go. So keep your eyes peeled for that tomorrow. Watch On the Contrary, do the Super Bowl prep. If you're doing any showdown slates, make sure to check out the show. It's me, Evan Silva, Osmo, of course, talking about our contrarian picks. We really dug deep on the Super Bowl, every possible angle we talked about, including kickers. So go check that out on the YouTube channel now if you're going to play anything for the Super Bowl. And we'll be back next. Well, Eddie will be here tomorrow. I'll be back next week. I wish you guys the best of luck out there. And again, go Grizzlies, go Knicks, go Shitty Chalk.
Bon chance, mes amis.